Hey up! Now then, welcome to the Yorkshire Foodies YouTube channel. My name's Dave K. I hope you're all well. And today we're going to talk about pizza, specifically pizza dough. Now I've been a pizza fan for absolutely donkey's years, and I've always been baffled by the amount of information that is out there in textbooks, on the internet, on Facebook, for everywhere. There's tons and tons of recipes on dough. And so over the years I've tried a lot. I've tried many different recipes. I've worked out my own, I've done my own bits and bats and put this in and put that in. And to be honest, it can be an absolute minefield. So what I want to do is I want to try and make it as simple as I can with a simple dough recipe that's going to give you the results that you need. So the main thing with making dough, you can actually make a dough ball ready to bake within the same day. Within 5 or 6 hours you can have a launchable ready dough base in that particular time. But I have to say from experience it doesn't taste as good as the ones that you actually pop in the fridge overnight. So after everything I've said, I would always recommend that you 24-hour your dough in a refrigerator before you actually start to shape it. And I think that's the best way to do it, and that's the best results that I've got. Now I've been using this little pizza app, which I'll show you on the screen. You can download this pizza app from Google Play, or you can or the Apple App Store. I'll put a link in the description. If you go to settings on the right hand side, and then you can configure this to how you want it, but let's keep it simple, okay? We're not going to touch anything apart from the CT button, which you can see there, okay? So if we go back to the house at the top right hand side, and then we can make some adjustments here. So I reckon that for a decent sized pizza, 12, 13, possibly 14 inch stretch, your dough ball should weigh round about 285, depending on how thick you like it. I found 285 a decent kind of weight. And we're going to make 3 dough balls here. So I've adjusted this to 3. And we'll make 3. If we make any less than that, then the mixer will struggle to get the right consistency and to get it all kind of combined. So it's always best to do 2 or 3. So we're doing 3 dough balls, 285. We're going to leave this as it is. I've not touched it. Okay. I'm going to opt for a 2-hour leavening. That's a room temperature. So once this dough's combined and it's it's out of the mixer in the resting bowl, I'm going to leave it to double for around about 2 hours. Now it's quite warm here today. It's about 24 degrees here today, so I can see it's not going to take that long to double up at room temperature, around about 23 if we allow 2 hours. Now you can change that if you want, but I think round about this sort of temperature, I mean we're quite lucky in Yorkshire at the minute because we've kind of getting some nice weather. So the room temperature is 22.5. Excuse me. We're going to pop it in the fridge after that 2 hours, and we've split it into 2 or 3 dough balls. We're going to put it in the fridge for 24 hours, and the fridge temperature is 4 degrees. And we're using instant dried yeast. 524 grams of flour, 16 grams of salt, water 314, yeast 1.3. Now if obviously 1.3 can be quite difficult to weigh, so if you could go 1.5, 1.4, that's okay, don't worry about it. So that's the pizza app. You can leave it open for reference and we'll come back to the actual process. So for this particular process I'm going to use this stand mixer because this is the best kind of thing I've ever bought for making dough. Now I used to make it by hand and it's not that hard to do. I'm 63, my hands are starting to get a little bit tired, so I thought I'd decide to buy this stand mixer, and it was cheap as chips. It was from Amazon. I think it was about 50 UK pounds. It wasn't that expensive, and it was worth every penny. It's not fancy. There's no timings on it or anything like that. It's just a stand mixer with a Dought, and it's brilliant, honestly. So we've got as mixer there. We've got some 00 flour from Tesco, which is brilliant. I've used it for years and it's ace. We're going to use that. I've got some water already weighed out, like I said, in a Dought. There's 314 mils or grams of lukewarm water. It's about 22 degrees. We've got us instant yeast there, which is just a basic Allinson's easy bake yeast. And it's brilliant. It really, really is. You don't need to make this process complicated to get a good result on your pizzas. I promise you, I've done it and I've tried it for years, and this is one of the best solutions that I've found for the taste and everything else. So let's get on with putting the flour in the mixer first, and we'll weigh it out. So as Pizza App's telling us is that we need 524 grams of flour to be able to make 3 dough balls, each weighing 285 grams. So we'll bob that on the scales, we'll zero it for the weight of the ball, and we'll scoop in there 524 grams. That's the flour that I use. Tesco finest grade. It's brilliant stuff. So just put that to one side. We'll just carefully get that in there. 500. I'm a bit of a messy baker, by the way. 524. So as flour is in as mixer, we've got 314 grams of lukewarm water. I'm going to put that to one side, and then we need to measure out as instant yeast. Now it's suggesting that we should put in round about 1.34 grams. So if we just zero that little cup, okay, so we're going to put that straight in the flour, the whole lot. And then what we're going to do is set this mixer to go on slow. Put it on number 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to combine all that flour and all that yeast in this particular bowl before we add any water. Now we'll just let that run for a minute or so, just to get all them things combined, and we'll add a salt towards the back end of the process. So we've got us flour in, we've got us yeast in, and we're just going to wait while that combines. Just bring the camera in a bit closer. So I've just moved that over the bowl so you can actually see what it's actually doing. We've just got us dry ingredients in there, and I'm just using this plastic spoon just to kind of get anything that were off at sides into the middle. Right, and then I'm going to add round about a half of this water straight in there on low speed. And then we need to let that combine again till it's all started to combine, and then we can add a little bit more. And the process is just adding bits at a time. You don't want the water to start pooling at the bottom, otherwise it'll take ages to get mixed. So you can see it's actually coming together. Now, like I said before, this mixer was super cheap. It was a proper bargain, do you know? And I've used it not just for dough. I've used it for cakes. I've used it for all sorts of stuff. But it's brilliant for dough. Put a little bit more in. And gradually it'll start to combine. When it's all combined and it looks fairly nice, then we'll add the salt. Let's see what time it is. So we started adding the water round about 4 minutes ago. You can see it's actually starting to come together. A bit more water in there. You can see it's starting to combine and starting to become one lump. Bit more water. If you add too much water, the water will run right down to the bottom, and the dough will pick up the the dough hook will pick up the dough, and it'll start to spin like on a skating rink, and it won't really absorb the water. It'll take ages and ages to absorb. And what's happening is all the dough's getting combined, and it's all mixing and stretching, and it's all building the structure inside, the gluten and everything else that we need to actually make a really, really nice pizza dough base. So I've just added the last drop of water, and now I've zeroed the scales, and I'm going to measure out 16 grams of salt. There we are, just a little bit much. We don't want to overdo it with the salt, because as we all know, salt kills the yeast, or stops it actually doing its thing. There we go, 15, and you can see the dough's starting to form together, so we gradually add this salt. Okay, and we've been running on this low speed now probably for about 7, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and you can see the dough's coming together really, really nicely. There we are. And then we'll turn it up to the next level, the next speed up. Now what we're looking for basically is a clean bowl, a little bit of a shiny texture on the dough, and we'll just gradually increase it until it's slopping about in there and banging it in there. What we're after basically is that stretchy gluten, and it should be, if we just touch it, not sticky. Obviously there's no stretch in that yet, so we've got loads and loads. We need to be able to pull it up so it stretches right out here before we actually take it out, and that's how far it needs to be. That's your guide. And you'll know when it's like that, because you can see it's all super smooth. Turn it up one. And this is where the gluten's starting to form in the dough, starting to get like a structure inside. You can see it's starting to come together really nicely. We'll just put the light on so we can see better. Okay, in about 2 minutes on that level, we'll turn it up a notch. So you see the bowl is starting to go really nice and clean, and the dough is starting to slap about, which means that the stretch in it, because it's holding itself together, let's compare it to what it were a minute or two ago. Oh yeah, look at that. It's starting to go. That looks looking nice, is that? Now we've been probably around about 4, 8, 9, 10 minutes, 11 minutes now. Let's have a look at it and see what it's like. Yeah, that's not bad, not bad. Yeah, we'll just do it for another minute or two. I think we're done. In fact, I'm fairly sure we're done. Nice and shiny, nice and smooth. That's nice, that, nice and smooth. Look how smooth it is on top. So, what we need to do now is we need to put it in a container to rise with some cling film over top for 2 hours, or until it doubles. So we'll just put a little bit of oil. It's just basically just to stop it sticking to the bowl. This is really nice, this stuff. It's carrot oil. It's like the healthy option, but I mean it won't add any taste to the dough. It just stops it from sticking. Okay, and we'll just bob that in there. Get some cling film on it. Whoever invented cling film wants his arse kicking, because it's horrendous. I hate this stuff. It's horrible. I always get stuck and everything. It's a nightmare stuff. Right, so yeah, what we do is cover that up. Make sure there's no air getting to it. Put it in a warm place around about 23, 24 degrees until it doubles in size. Or around about, it should be about 2 hours at that sort of temperature, because that's what we've put in as pizza wrap. There we are. And we'll come back in a bit. So let's take the silly cling film off it. Look at that. So that's just under 2 hours, and you can see how it's actually started to, well, it's probably doubled in size, but there's some little bubbles in there that we just can pick. You can see where they are. It's plenty of life in that. So what we need to do now is divide it up into 3 equal parts, around about 285 grams, which will give us a nice kind of 12-13 inch pizza. Put it in the little containers, which I'll show you, and then we'll put it in the fridge for 24 hours, or minimum 24 hours. So these, I got these from Amazon some time ago, but if I'm kind of cooking any more than 4 or 5 pizzas, I'll put them in a proofing tray fridge. But if I'm doing 3 or 4, then I'll use these. Now these are really great. You kind of expand, they're made out of silicone, and you can get 285, 290 dough ball in there. Put a little lid on, put them in the fridge, and they'll sit quite happily there for 24 hours. Great little thing. They weren't expensive either, and I've got 4 of these, so I'm going to use these for these particular dough balls. So we'll grease them up first. So we just need a really tiny little drop in each one, just to stop the dough from sticking to the silicone, and then it'll drop out easily when we come to shape it. 245, 278, 287. So again, we just stretch it, fold it, stretch it, fold it, and we need to do this just 4 or 5 times. That's all you need to do, and the fridge and the yeast will do the rest. Put a lid on that one. Put a lid on that one, and then put that one to one side. And these need to go in a refrigerator for 24 hours minimum. So that one should weigh around about 280 grams, 270. So that'll be fine. So we'll just stretch it, stretch it, stretch it, stretch it, and get it into a nice tight ball. In the fridge. Now then, how time flies when you're having fun. We're 24 hours later, and if you remember, we mixed enough dough for 3 pizzas, but we're only going to do 1 today. So we're 24 hours later. Let me show you what this little bad boy looks like. There you go. You see how much it's actually risen in that pot. What we're going to do is we're going to get that out on us board so we can shape it. Now we could use flour for this stage, and there's nothing wrong with using flour, but this time I'm going to use semolina. It's a little bit easier to use, particularly if you're a newcomer. So what we're going to do is just going to bob some semolina on the board. That's it. Give it a decent amount of semolina. Okay, on top of the dough as well. And then what we'll do is, if you remember, we actually greased these little pots, so we just want to gently coax this dough out of this little pot onto this board. We don't want to let it to go down too much, too fast rather. There we are. You see the empty pot. So we've got this on there. Now you can see it's lovely and plump. We've got a little bit of a bubble coming out there, which is exactly how we want it. Lovely and easy to shape. Put a bit more semolina on top, flip it round, same on bottom. Give it plenty of semolina. That's it. We can wipe it away later on. Okay, so what we need to do now basically is, you'll have to excuse me because I am no wizard at making pizza dough. So what you see with me is what you get. So I'm not a fancy swing it around your head type. It's a case of get it in a decent shape and wang it in oven. That's me. So what we'll do is we'll gradually get it in a decent shape, something that resembles a pizza like shape. We don't want a massive crust on this. I don't particularly like big crusts. I feel it's a waste. More room for more toppings. Okay. We just gradually spread that out. As you can see, it's starting to take shape. Just push it out to the sides. That's it. Get a bit more semolina in there. Okay. And now I'm just going to kind of shape it by using the over the wrist method. So if we just put his hand there, stretch it over, and then throw it back down. Do the same at the other side. And like I say, I'm no wizard at this. But it just gives us a bit of a bigger shape to us pizza dough, which is what we want. We can stretch it again on this peel. This is probably needs to be around about 12-inch. And again, if you want to put it on your knuckles, you can put it on your knuckles. There we are, it's going now. There we are. Gently does it, I think that's the key. Okay. Okay, what we'll do is we'll stretch it a little bit on the peel. There we are. Right, so we've got us peel. I always bob the peel in the oven just to get any moisture out. Bob a little bit of semolina on the peel, a little bit near the front, and just lift the edge up and just slide it on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stretch it as we put our stuff on. Now I'm going to make this really simple. I've just got some passata that I've actually got down a little bit. I've actually reduced it by the heat. Put a little bit of basil, a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar in there. Not made too much, just enough for one pizza. So we'll get that on. You can see the basil in there. It smells absolutely gorgeous. Now you can put a little bit of garlic in if you want. It's entirely up to you how you want to do it. Don't put too much on, get it near edge. That's it. We've got some nice mozzarella cheese here. Put a bob on there, it's grated, easy to use. Plenty on. Right, and then we'll give it a little bit of a stretch just to make it bigger. That's it. There we go, that's a better size. Okie dokie, so we're at just over 377 on us Gosney and it's time to launch. So, get us peel and we'll just launch it in there. And I'll just grab the camera. And this is going to be tricky because I'm going to need to use the turning peel at the same time. Now sometimes it's best to just turn that flame down so it don't catch your crust. So we just, you can see edge is just starting to rise now. Just going in there and you can see it's bubbling. We'll just wait for that crust to the underneath just to harden up a bit so we can grab out of it and turn it. There we are. Okay, see if we can turn it. That's it. You have to do one-handed. There we are. Okay, we'll just get the crust nice and brown. Keeping an eye on the bottom. That's beautiful. Just turn it up a touch. That's it. Get it bubbling on top. That's it. There we are. You can see. Just nicely going. Now depending on how you like it, depending on when you want to pull it and how dark you want your crust to be, as long as the bottom's done, then you can kind of pull it when you like. You don't want a soft bottom though. Just turn that down. Just shade it a bit. Okay. That's doing nicely, is that? Let's have a look at bottom. Yep. Just spin it a bit. Look at that. Beautiful. I think we should pull it at that now. One perfect pizza. Now it's probably round about 11 inch, 10 or 11 inch. I could probably stretch it a bit further if I wanted to, but that gives you an idea of how it's nice and crunchy. Listen. Ouch, it's hot as well. Really nice. Look at that inside, beautiful. So this particular was about the dough. That's how this video came about. I just wanted to show you an example of using the app to get the dough that you want your finished pizza to look like. You don't need to make your dough really complicated. The main thing is follow the app. Just do an overnight, a 24-hour overnight in your fridge, 3 to 4 degrees. Let it rest for an hour before you shape it, and you end up with a beautiful dough, and it'll taste fantastic. I wish I could tell you how nice that is going to taste. So nice. So again, doesn't need to be complicated. That's how to do dough. Twiddle pip.